Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2 says, "Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it."
God has a vision for this nation, for this city. He has a vision for your campus, your workplace. God has a vision for our church and for you. You can get connected and involved to help see this region reached, discipled, and revived.
We invite you to see with us.
All right, well, good morning again, and we're going to get going with this word today. And how many of you were actually here with us last Sunday? All right, I want to encourage you, if you weren't here last Sunday, we do put every one of our Sunday messages online on our website, and last Sunday we talked all about kind of like what our vision is and what we see. So if you want to just kind of catch up with us, feel free to go online and listen to that. I just want to give a quick introduction here and a summary of what we did look at last week, and then we're going to move on into something Julian, as he shared about the tithes and offerings today. When you hear this message, you're going to think we must have come into agreement, but I promise we didn't. He actually read one of the stories I'm going to read to you today. So let's just talk a little bit about what we're doing here. We're on a month of this series called #EncounterRDR, and I know you guys have been seeing, a lot of you have been seeing this all over Facebook and Instagram and all that, and #EncounterRDR is a unique hashtag to our church, and we did this for a reason, because we want to take a month to talk specifically about our vision, to talk specifically about what we believe God has called us to do here in Kennesaw and Cobb County and in North Atlanta, and very specifically on the KSU campus. And so #EncounterRDR describes basically who we are and what we do, okay? And you may have asked yourself, what in the world is that? You know, last week we kind of laughed about what is encounter. And that's not what it is. The capital letters RDR. If you might want to just glance back there at the back wall, you'll see RDR right behind you. What is that? Reach, disciple, and revive. And we call this our mission statement, right? It's what we're here to do. But let's talk just real quick about vision. What is vision? Because in these few weeks together in this series, we're inviting you to see with us. And you're going to hear this over and over. We're asking you, we're inviting you in to see with us, see what we see. And vision is specifically that. Vision is seeing. Vision is seeing, like right now, I see you. If you don't feel weird about it, turn to your neighbor and say, I see you. All right, just trying to break the ice here a little bit. Sometimes maybe you're new here and you might feel like, whoa, this is a new place. I just want to break the ice a little bit. Turn to another neighbor and say, I see you too. Why is it? I see you. Why is it that we see each other? Why is it that we see anything? Because we have vision. We have eyes and they have a vision. They have vision, right? And unless you have lost your vision or don't have vision, you can see. And it's so important that we see, not just see what's right in front of us, but that we see what's ahead of us, that we see, and what we're talking about these few weeks, what God has for us, what he's calling us to. We want to see, we want to have vision. And every company, organization, and in our case, ministry, has a vision. And a vision is what I see in the future that moves me towards a final goal, right, or result. Vision is a result or a goal I see in the future, and that vision is what keeps me moving toward that. It's what keeps me going forward. For example, maybe a company has a vision, and their vision is to make $10 million profit by the end of each year, okay? Now, whatever this company does is going to be directed towards making that $10 million profit. Why? Because what is their vision? What's their vision? $10 million profit, right? So vision is what moves us towards a final goal. There's lots of organizations and stuff out there right now. And one thing that's happening big right now in the world is this whole vision to end slavery completely. And very specifically right now, there's a lot of sex trafficking and sex slavery that's going on in the world. And there's organizations out there, and their vision is to see that completely ended and completely stopped. And so everything these organizations do is to go about, rescuing these girls from prostitution rings and rescuing girls out of these cities where they're being taken away, as sex slaves. And every single thing they do is to see that final goal, that final result happen, is for sex slavery specifically to end. Did you guys know that goes on in our city? Yep. All right. And so vision does something to you. You either have vision or you don't have vision. And I can tell you, by looking at the way you live, if you have vision for your life or if you don't have vision. Because vision determines one thing. You ready? It determines if I live aimlessly or if I live on purpose. If I have vision for the future, if I have a certain result or goal that I'm running after, right, then I'm going to live differently than if I don't have a vision. If I don't have a vision for the future, I'm just going to do this and kind of do that and go here and go there and kind of be aimless. And in the end, probably not really achieve very much, right? People that achieve big goals, it's because they had big vision, right? So I just want to invite you, we want to invite you as a church to open your eyes to see what it is God has for you. God has a vision for you, for your life. God doesn't call you to just live aimlessly and one day that's the end. God has a vision for your life. God has something, He has a specific result or goal that He wants you to go after, and it's great, okay? God has a vision for your family, your future family. God has a vision for whatever your job or career is. And God, we believe, has a vision, a specific vision for us as a church. And we are so delighted that you've decided to join us this morning to just see a little bit with us. Thank you again for being here, and we really, truly want to invite you to see. Habakkuk 2:2 said it here in the video a few minutes ago, but it says, write the vision and make it plain on tablets so he may run who reads it. I didn't know back in the day they had iPads or whatever tablet you may use, right? But this truly is, really, truly is what that means. It said, don't just have a vision, but display it. Put it on display somewhere so that people can not only see it, but what are they going to do with it? They're going to see it, they're going to read it, and they're going to run with it, right? So when we have vision, it's not just to have it. This is basically what we talked about all last Sunday. It's not just a matter of, I have a vision, but am I actually going after it, right? Do I have a vision for my life? Okay, I do. Am I doing what it takes to get there? Do I have a vision for my career? Yes. Okay, but am I doing what it takes to get there? Do we have a vision here in Encounter Church? Yes, we do, and we talked about it last Sunday. Our vision to see revival come to our city, okay? But are we doing what it takes to get there? Because it says we're not supposed to just have a vision, but we're supposed to run with it, right? Come on, say with me, see and run. Now listen, as a church, we definitely don't claim to have the best or the only vision out there. I think there's somewhere 1,000 and something churches in and around Atlanta. I may be wrong about that. It may be more like 10,000 or something. Yeah, it's crazy, all right? So we definitely don't claim to be the only vision out there and we've got the only thing happening in KSU. Or no. We do, however, know exactly what God has shown us He wants to do. He's given us a vision. He's given us a vision for this city. He's given us a vision for this region. He's given us a vision very specific for your campus, those of you that are college students. And all we want to do is just do our part. We're not trying to be the best. We're not trying to be the only one. We just want to do our part. We just want to do what God has called us to do. And so The question is, what do you see? What do you see? As you take a look at your life and you take a look at your future, what do you see? I'm not sure. All right. The Lord wants to help you out with that a little bit. Actually, a whole lot. He wants to give you a vision for your future. But if you ask us, what do we see here? What do we see as a church? And if you were here last Sunday, you can say this with me. We see revival. That's what we see. We see revival. We see a move of God that will change a campus and that will change a city. And it starts by God coming and changing each and every one of our individual lives. We see revival. Now, how are we going about it? So we see revival, but what are we doing to run after it? That's why we have what we have here: reach, disciple, and revive, okay? We believe in reaching people. We believe in helping people come into a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. But not only that, we believe that it's not God's will for you just to have a relationship with Him, but to truly learn how to follow Him, to truly learn what it means to follow Jesus, disciple. And we believe that the result of that will be a revival. I don't know if we have this on our screen, but if we could just say it in a few phrases. What we're here for is to reach people, make disciples, and revive our city. Would you mind reading it with me? Reach people, make disciples, and revive our city. This is our vision. Now that brings us to our specific message today about all of this. And Julian stole it for the offering. I'm just kidding, because he read from Matthew and I'm going to read from Mark. Isn't it great how it's going to go together with the offering? I just love that. All right, ready. Today, the title of our specific message, the main point today is You Feed Them. You feed them. And we're going to read a couple of stories out of a couple of chapters of Mark that when I read it, I'm like, Jesus, you are crazy. Not in a bad way, but Jesus, you're pretty out there, man. Jesus, when you told your disciples that, you were stretching them just a little bit. And today I really feel like God wants to just stretch us. Is that all right? Go ahead and just stretch yourself a little bit. All right, now we're ready. Come on, say with me, you feed them. Say it with a little bit of attitude. You feed them. Now, as we read through these stories, it's going to mean something very different for each of us, okay? For some of us, it's going to mean one thing. For some others, it's going to be another thing. But let me tell you, in these stories we're going to read, there's something that applies to each and every one of our lives, both personally as well as a church family, all right? So let's run into it. Mark chapter 6, and then we're going to read from Mark chapter 8. Ready? You can follow along on the screen here if you'd like. The apostles returned to Jesus from their ministry tour and told him all they had done and taught. And then Jesus said, let's go off by ourselves to a quiet place and rest a while. He said this because there were so many people coming and going that Jesus and his apostles didn't even have time to eat. They were pretty busy folks, right? So busy, people wouldn't leave them alone even long enough to eat a burrito. They were really busy. Does anybody out there feel like you're pretty busy? Has anybody ever forgotten to eat? You were so busy? All right. They didn't forget to eat. People wouldn't leave them alone long enough to even get a meal. So he said, all right, let's go off somewhere quiet. Let's go take a rest. And then it says, verse 32, so they left by boat for a quiet place where they could be alone. But many people recognized them and saw them leaving, and people from many towns ran ahead along the shore and got there ahead of them. They're like, you ain't eating. You're not eating. Hold on. Jesus saw the huge crowd as he stepped from the boat, and he said, I don't have time for them. I'm hungry. I need to go eat. No, right? Don't ever believe the lie that God doesn't have time for you. He's not too busy for you. It says Jesus had what on them? Compassion, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. What? I don't know if you know this, but what do sheep do when there's no leader, when there's no shepherd? They go all over the place. They're aimless. They don't have vision at all, okay? They were like sheep without a shepherd. Not only that, but sheep without a shepherd, they don't necessarily know where to go get food. They're hungry, okay? So he said they were like sheep without a shepherd, and so he began to teach them many things. And late in the afternoon, his disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place, and it's getting late already. Send the crowds away so they can go to nearby farms and villages and buy something to eat, okay? It's late, and they're hungry. And I think what they were really saying is, we're hungry, Jesus. Come on. Send them away so we can eat. And we're using the excuse of they're hungry, right? And then Jesus said, what did he tell him? You feed them. And then they answered, with what? We'd have to work for months to earn enough money to buy food for all these people. So just think, all right? We don't read it until the end, but just think. There's a crowd of approximately 20 to 25,000 people. Okay? Because it says, we read it at the end, 5,000 men, not counting their wives, plural, remember the culture, and kids. Close to the Braves stadium full of people, right? Following them around, hungry, tired, nothing to eat. And Jesus says, why don't you feed them? Their response was pretty calm compared to what mine might have been. But Jesus, I knew you were different. But now you've crossed the line. What are you talking about? Feed them. All these people? There's no way we could feed all these people. And then he answers, I love his answer. He says, how much do you have? How much bread do you have? He asks, and then he says a very important phrase, go and find out. Go and find out. And they came back and reported, we have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Doesn't sound like very much to feed 20,000 people, does it? 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish wasn't even enough to feed the 12 disciples and Jesus. Then Jesus told the disciples to have people sit down in groups on the green grass. And so they sat down in groups of 50 or 100. And Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, looked up towards heaven and blessed them. Then breaking the loaves into pieces, he kept giving the bread to the disciples so they could distribute it to the people. He also divided the fish for everyone to share. And then verse 42, I love this. It says they all ate how much? As much as they wanted. They ate until their belly was full, right? They ate as much as they wanted. And afterward, the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftover bread and fish. A total of 5,000 men and their families were fed from those loaves. Okay? We call this a capital M miracle. Okay? This was a miracle. If Jesus ever did a miracle, this was one of the main ones, okay? I don't know about you, but this really gets me excited, so I'm sorry if I'm really excited today. But Jesus took this little bit of food. He told them, go find out how much you got. Bring it on over. Okay, that'll do. 20,000 people eat. And not only did they eat, they didn't eat a little crumb. You said, well, maybe he just broke it into tiny little crumbs and like they each ate a scale of the fish and there was 20,000. It says they all ate as much as they wanted. This was an amazing miracle. And not only that, there was how much left over? 12 baskets full of leftovers. All right, you think that's cool? So after this, Jesus and his disciples go on and they're doing more miracles and healing more people and teaching more stuff. 2 chapters later, we got Mark chapter 8. Let's jump over there. About this time, another large crowd had gathered and the people ran out of food again. They kind of had a bad habit here. Jesus called his disciples and told them, I feel sorry for these people. They've been with me for 3 days and have nothing left to eat. different crowd. We don't know if this was a couple of days later, a couple of weeks later, but it wasn't too far after the first crowd, okay? It was another big crowd, and they were also following Jesus. Same situation. If I send them home hungry, they're going to faint along the way, for some of them have come a long distance. His disciples replied. His same disciples, who had just seen him do what he just did, replied this: how are we supposed to find enough food to feed them out here in the wilderness? And I can just see Jesus going, really? Jesus asked, how much bread do you have? 7 loaves, they replied. So Jesus told all the people to sit down on the ground. He took the 7 loaves, thanked God for them, and broke them into pieces. He gave them to the disciples who distributed the bread to the crowd. I said distributed the first time. Did y'all hear that? A few small fish were found too, so Jesus also blessed these and told the disciples to distribute them. Verse 8. Come on, read it. They all ate as much as they wanted. Just a little hint here. Jesus never runs out. Never, ever, ever. He never runs out. Afterwards, the disciples picked up 7 large baskets of leftover food. There were about 4,000 people in the crowd that day, and Jesus sent them home after they had eaten. So, 20-something thousand the first time, and then it says 4,000, which we don't know if that was just men or if that was everybody, but a whole bunch of people, okay? 2 big miracles. And both times, they all ate how much? Did you know you can have as much as you want of Jesus? You can have as much as you want. He doesn't have a little bit for you. You can have as much as you want. He said the devil, the thief, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what the devil is after. The enemy tries to take from you and eventually destroy you. And Jesus came to give his life for you, and he gave himself completely, and you can have all that he is and all that he has. And he never runs out. You can have as much as you want. You can be satisfied, just like these men, women, and children ate as much as they wanted till their bellies were full and had baskets left over. You can have a life that is full and satisfied. I didn't say you can have a life that's easy without problems, without trials and tribulations, without storms you got to go through, without hard things, without even experiencing times of need, because that is life, that is reality, and God uses all of that to draw us even closer to him. But what I am telling you is that in this world that sometimes is hard and difficult, Jesus is, we sing it in a song, the cup that will never run dry. You can pour him out and keep pouring him out for all eternity, and the cup is still full. You can break the loaf of bread into 100,000 million little pieces, and there's still a full loaf there. He will never, ever, ever run out. He is more than enough for you. And you might think you need a lot of things. We prayed this earlier in the service today. All of us have been in points in our life when we think, I need this to be happy. I need that to be happy. I need this girl to make me happy. I need that guy to make me happy. I need this job to make me happy. I need this much money to make me happy. And in reality, you get that, and you ain't happy. Only Jesus can satisfy. Jesus was great at showing people what their real need was. We talked about this the other day, some of us, about Starbucks. You know, according to the Starbucks people, the staff or the Starbucks CEO or whatever, what do they think your real need is for their company? Coffee. Caramel macchiato with extra whipped cream and drizzle and all that stuff. Everybody's like, stop, Hunter. It's time to go eat. All right? Okay? But most of us ended up at a Starbucks not because that was the only place to get coffee, There's plenty of places to get coffee. We ended up at Starbucks because we like the atmosphere there, right? We can sit down. It's except Michael, he don't like Starbucks. All right. It's like a little living room, and you want to sit outside, and you want to chat, and you want to have a friendship time. It's great. Or not only did they want us to drink their coffee, but what we think we need is a lot of sugar, right? So in order to get us to drink a little bit of that coffee, they put a ton of whipped cream and caramel and vanilla and every single flavor you can imagine with and without sugar, right? For those of us that are trying to be healthy or whatever. See, they do everything to try to get you to do one thing, and that's drink their coffee. And Jesus understood this better than anybody else. He said, these people think that what they need is food. They're out here following me all over the place. And I guarantee you, some of these in the 4,000 crowd had heard about what he did to the 5,000, like, oh, free food. Come on, right? People, listen, I know I can tell you for myself because I experienced this in my own life. We come to Jesus thinking we need something, and we find out that really wasn't what we needed. What we really needed was him. It was him. And when we found him, we found everything we needed and more, because he never runs out. And I want to tell you this. I want to speak to you. I know that some of you, this is your first time here or you're new here, and some of you have been with us for a while. So I want to speak to you in different ways right now, okay? Number one, listen, Encounter Church, this is for all of us. Our calling, our vision, let me rephrase that. Not so much our vision. Our vision is to see a city touched, a revival, right? It's to see a campus transformed by revival. But our mission, what we're doing to make it happen, listen, we're called to feed and satisfy a hungry crowd. That's what we're called to do. That's what we're here for, to feed and satisfy a hungry crowd. And I really feel like this. I want you to take this to heart today. Like the Holy Spirit showed us that as long as we go after the hungry crowd, there's always going to be more than enough. More than enough what? Bread and fish? Well, yeah, we plan on eating too. That's why we're trying to give out 500 hot dogs in 2 weeks. And I'm already starting to think about it. It's like, I'm already having a vision of someone having to run down the street and buy some more because 500 wasn't enough. Probably. Because some of y'all probably eat like 12. But we got to know that, you guys. Jesus, he's where the hungry are. That's where he is. We might think Jesus is sitting on the front row of the biggest church in town, and I hope he is. I really hope he is. There's some churches I've been into before, and it was like, he is not here. Okay, because this is not about him, this is about them, and this is about money, and this is about everything else, okay? But Jesus is always going to be where the hungry crowd is. When you read in the Bible, where did you find Jesus? Where sick people were. Why? Because they thought that their need was to feel better. They thought, I'm blind. My real need is to see. You know what? He would go open their eyes and let them see. And guess what? They would realize, Jesus is what I really needed. Except sometimes, even though he does this, we don't really see anyway. Come on, this is about to get... If it hurts, let it hurt, okay? Sometimes we come to Jesus looking for something, right? Looking for something. We need something in our life. I don't know. I need peace, or I need a wife, or I don't know. I need to feel better. I'm sick. We come and we get what we wanted, and then we just keep going with life now with that we got, instead of realizing, wait, what I really need is the one who gave me that. I need to be in relationship with him. I need to walk with him. I need to live for him. And we saw it happen with Jesus. One time he came up to, I think it was 10 blind people. Was it 10 blind people? Or 10 lepers. All right, 10 lepers. All right, and he heals them all. And how many come back and actually want to follow him? Uno. So don't be that. kind of person. Don't be the one who experiences Jesus, but then you don't realize that what you really need is him, not what he can give you. I believe Jesus is where the hungry crowd is. Are you hungry today? He's right here. Are you needy today? He's right here to meet you where you are. But what you really need is him. Now, let's just learn a couple of things before we come to the end of this today. Let's take a look at the disciples. Some of you might think this way. You might think that what you have to offer is insignificant, but big or small is of absolutely no concern to God. You might think that you look at your life. Jesus said, how much do you have? Go find out. You might look at your life. You might go find out. This is what I got. This is all I've got. And you might think it's very insignificant. But big or small is of no concern to God. Why? You want to know why? Because he's really, 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 really big. And it doesn't matter, big or small. What matters is that you would offer it to him and trust him with it. God doesn't need me to have something big to offer. He just needs me to take what I have and offer it to him. God doesn't need me to have something big to offer. I'm saying it again because I wanted to sink in, all right? He doesn't need me to have something big to offer because I don't. He just needs to take what I do have and offer it to him because he's big. And if I offer what I have to a big God and I just trust him with it, he can do anything with it. He can do whatever he wants. Jesus could have taken the loaves and the fish and thrown them up in the air and let it, pop out fireworks of bread and fish all over the crowd. Jesus could have taken the loaves of bread and fish and, he could have done it in many different ways. The point is, they just had to give it to him and trust him with it. Do whatever you want, here it is. Okay? I'm sure the disciples some of them probably, I would have been one of them been thinking, what does he think he's going to do with this little bit of food with all these people? And then they were like, right? After they saw what happened. The point is, whatever it is you have, be it big, be it small, offer it and just trust him with it. Okay? Just trust him with it. This is the essence and the heart of being used by God. Say, I want to be used by God. You know what it boils down to? Here's what I have. I trust you with it. And then let him do whatever he wants to with it. Okay? What do you have? 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 All right. What do you have? Come on. I'm serious. You need to ask yourself that question. Jesus asked the disciples, well, what do you have? All these people are hungry. We'd have to go work for months to get enough food. Oh, but what do you have? Okay, that'll do. Listen, I want you to look at me this afternoon. What do you have? I don't know. Well, go and find out. That's what he told them. Go and find out. Listen, there is more to you than you think. God made you. And he doesn't make mistakes or trash. Well, I feel like trash. That's because you went into the trash can. No, really, because we put ourselves in the trash can, we wallow around in filth. Guess what Jesus does? He pulls us out of the trash can and he washes us off. You're not trash. You're not trash. You just got into the trash. Listen, my little boy Oliver goes to the trash can almost every day and sticks his hand in there, and he has actually pulled out old coffee grounds out of the trash bag that have touched who knows what ice-cold nastiness in there, okay, and ate it. Listen. Liz says she wasn't there. Oh, all it takes is turn away for 1 second. He's done it already. All right. Let me ask you a question. Is my baby trash? No, he just got into the trash. And what do we have to do? Clean it up, give him a good bath, wash his mouth out, whatever. You're not trash. You got to know that, because some of you live like thinking like, I wish God could use me one day, but I'm just trash. I'm just dirty. I'm just messed up. Let him wash you off. And let me give you a good hint. Stop going to the trash can. Stop. There's a way not to be trashy anymore. I'm not calling anybody trashy. I'm just saying. There's a way to be clean and stay clean. Stay out of the mud. And guess what? He can wash you off, and not only does he wash you off, he can show you how to stay out of the trash. That's called the Holy Spirit. That's why we do discipleship, to learn how to live for him. But all of that to say is, what do you have? There's more to you probably than what you think. And some of you think this is all I am, and you're going to discover when you come to know Jesus, there's a whole lot more to you. And you have something to offer, and it might be very small and insignificant, but that is of no concern to Jesus, because he's very, very big. And he wants to use your life. Just to end it here, we're going to jump forward a few more verses to verse 14. We're still in Mark chapter 8. Jesus has just fed the 5,000 in Mark 6, and they do a bunch of stuff in Mark 7, and then we get to Mark 8, and he feeds the 4,000, right? And then they're done. And I'm sure they're tired, but at least their bellies are full, right? So they're like, all right, let's go. We're going to go do something else. And they get in the boat, okay, to cross the lake to go somewhere else. And it says, but the disciples had forgotten to bring any food. I don't know what it was about these people, but they were always forgetting food. All right. They had forgotten to bring any food, and they only had one loaf of bread with them in the boat. As they were crossing the lake, Jesus warned them, watch out. Beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and of Herod. Like, what in the world? Yeast? That's something in bread, I guess. So, and at this, they began to argue with each other because they hadn't brought any bread. And I love Jesus' answer. This is one of my favorite parts of reading when Jesus is talking to his disciples. I love reading this. It makes me laugh every time. Jesus knew what they were saying, so he said, why are you arguing about having no bread? Don't you know or understand even yet? Hold on. Just hold on. Do you have eyes? So, can't you see? Do you have ears? And I'm sure they're like, yes, Jesus. I'm looking at you. You have eyes. Don't you see? You have ears. Can't you hear? Don't you remember anything at all? Literally, this just happened. Don't you remember what just happened? Twice? Just so you wouldn't forget. I did it twice. When I fed the 5,000 with loaves of bread, how many baskets of leftovers did you pick up afterward? And they answered, I bet you they answered like this, 12. And when I fed the 4,000 with 7 loaves, how many large baskets of leftovers did you pick up? 7. Don't you understand yet? Obviously, the answer was no. Stand up. Even Jesus' disciples had not yet understood what the real need was. They thought he was talking about bread. Come on. And Jesus is like, look, I've already showed you that bread is kind of like not a problem for me. Fish too. I made fish, so we're good on fish. Don't you understand yet? You just saw me do this 2 times. Dos veces. 2 times. I see this in 2 times. Here comes the boom. All right, sorry. And you still don't get it. I felt like this before. I know that you have, because I have. Like all of a sudden God goes, hello? Don't you remember? Don't you remember what I already did? Don't you remember what I already told you? Don't you remember the life you used to be living and how I got you out of there? And maybe you say, I haven't been rescued yet. Well, you can be rescued today. Jesus is here to rescue you. Okay? Don't you remember how I already healed you? Don't you remember how I already provided for you that time? Don't you remember? I don't have a problem with stuff. Your relationship with me is not about stuff. I have no issue giving you what you need. Just like I gave all those people bread and fish, I have everything you need, more than enough, but you don't understand yet. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, number one, I can do anything. I can do anything. So stop worrying about that. But number two, and the main point he was trying to make is, bread is not what you need. Stuff is not what you need. What you need is me. What you need is real. What you need is relationship with me. You need to know me. You need to walk with me. You need my love. You need my presence. You need my power in your life. All the other stuff, I'll give it to you along the way. I'll give you what you need. The true need is Jesus. Food is a representation of a hungry, needy heart. Jesus used physical hunger to show our real hunger and our real need. That's him. Oh, if you feel just comfortable with it right now, I just want to invite you to close your eyes. If you don't want to, that's fine. But I want to ask you to do this because I want you to just take a look on the inside of yourself. Just what's in you today? Only Jesus can satisfy your hungry soul. And he will let you eat as much as you want. He's more than enough. You can have all you want of his love, mercy, grace, his presence, because he never, ever runs out.